My parents mocked me for being the dumb one. A $47 million check proved them wrong. In my family, labels stuck, and mine was decided early. The dumb one. It started as a joke. At least, that's what everyone said. But jokes don't repeat themselves for years unless people believe them. My older brother was the smart one. Straight A's, scholarships, the kind of student teachers talked about. My sister was the talented one. Music, art competitions. She won things, got attention, made my parents proud in ways that were easy to show off. And me, I was the comparison, the example, the punchline. If your brother can do it, why can't you? Your sister figured it out faster. You need to try harder. I heard it so often it stopped sounding like criticism. It just became truth. At family gatherings, it was worse. My uncle would laugh and say, "So, still figuring things out?" My aunt once joked, "Every family needs one, right?" Everyone would chuckle, even my parents, especially my parents. They never corrected anyone, never defended me. If anything, they leaned into it. "He's not academic," my dad would say, "more practical." My mom added once, like she was softening the blow. But it didn't soften anything. It just made it clearer. I wasn't what they wanted. School didn't help. I wasn't failing. But I wasn't excelling either. I understood things differently, slower, maybe. But once I got something, I really got it. That didn't matter in a system that rewarded speed. So I stopped trying to compete the way they wanted me to. I found other things. Work. Real work. After school, I picked up part-time jobs. Fixing things. Helping people with small problems. Learning how things actually worked outside of textbooks. It wasn't impressive. It wasn't something you could brag about at dinner. But it made sense to me. And for the first time, I felt capable. Still, none of that changed how they saw me, or how they talked about me. By the time I turned 25, the label hadn't gone away. If anything, it had settled in deeper. At my birthday dinner that year, my dad raised a glass and smiled. "To all my kids," he said. Everyone looked up. "My brilliant son," he added, nodding toward my brother. "My talented daughter," he said proudly. Then he looked at me and paused just long enough for the room to notice. "And," he said, smiling slightly, "our wild card." Laughter. Soft, but enough. I smiled too, because that's what I always did. Let it pass. Don't react. Don't make it awkward. But something felt different that night. Maybe it was the way everyone expected me to laugh along. Maybe it was the way my parents didn't even think twice about it anymore. Or maybe it was because for once I knew something they didn't. Because earlier that week, I had received something in the mail. Something I hadn't told anyone about. Not my brother, not my sister, and definitely not my parents. I reached into my jacket pocket, feeling the envelope still there. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel like the dumb one at the table. I felt like the only person who actually knew what was coming next. I sat there for a moment, listening to the laughter fade. Same pattern, same reactions. Nothing new, except this time, I didn't feel small. I reached into my jacket and pulled out the envelope. It wasn't dramatic, just a simple movement. But it caught my dad's attention. "What's that?" he asked. "Something I got this week," I said calmly. My brother leaned forward slightly. "Another job application?" he joked. A few people smiled. I didn't respond. Instead, I opened the envelope and slid the paper out. Then I placed it in the center of the table, face down. My mom frowned. "What is this supposed to be?" I flipped it over. Silence. At first, no one said anything. They were reading, trying to understand what they were looking at. Then my brother leaned closer. His expression changed first. "Wait," he said quietly. My dad picked it up next. His eyes moved across the page. Slower, more carefully. Then he read the number and stopped. That's not, he muttered. My mom leaned over his shoulder. What is it? He didn't answer. So she looked herself. And then, nothing. No laughter. No comments. Just silence. Because the paper on the table wasn't a joke. It was a check. And the number printed on it was $47 million. My sister blinked. Is this real? She asked. Yes, I said. My dad looked at me, confused, then suspicious. Where did you get this? I leaned back slightly. From the company I've been building. The table went quiet again. My brother frowned. What company? The one I never talked about. My mom shook her head. You don't run a company. I do. For how long? My dad asked. About 6 years. His grip tightened slightly on the check. And it's worth this? That's the acquisition amount. I said. For what? For selling it. Silence. Complete silence. Because everything they thought they knew about me didn't match what they were seeing. My dad looked at the check again. Then back at me. You're serious? Yes. My brother sat back slowly. No way. My sister whispered. You never said anything. I shrugged. No one asked. That landed harder than anything else. Because it was true. Every conversation we had ever had was about what I wasn't, not what I was. My dad set the check down carefully, like it might disappear if he moved too fast. Then he looked at me, really looked at me, for the first time in years. And suddenly, the dumb one at the table was the only person no one could laugh at anymore. No one spoke. The check sat in the middle of the table like it didn't belong there, like it had landed in the wrong life. My dad looked at it again, then back at me. You built this? He asked quietly. Yes. For how long? 6 years. He nodded slowly, like he was trying to match that answer with everything he thought he knew about me. It didn't fit. None of it did. My mom's voice softened. Why didn't you tell us? I took a breath. I tried, I said, a few times. They looked at me, confused. I continued, but every time I mentioned work, it turned into a joke. No one denied it, because they couldn't. My brother leaned back in his chair. That's a lot to take in, he admitted. I know. My sister looked down at the table. We didn't think. I know, I said again. That was the pattern. They didn't think. They assumed. They labeled. And then they stopped paying attention. My dad finally pushed his chair back slightly. We were wrong, he said. The words were simple, but they landed differently now. Not defensive, not dismissive, just real. I looked at him for a moment, then nodded. I know. The room stayed quiet. No one laughed. No one made another comment, because there was nothing left to say that wouldn't sound hollow. I reached forward, picked up the check, and slid it back into the envelope, carefully, like it mattered, but not in the way they thought. I didn't bring this to impress anyone, I said. I brought it because I was done being seen as something I'm not. I stood up. No one stopped me. No one tried to explain or fix it, because some things don't get fixed in a single moment. As I put on my jacket, my dad spoke again. We should talk. Properly. I paused, then looked back at him. Maybe, I said, not yes, not no, just honest, because rebuilding something takes time. And this was only the first real moment they had ever seen me. I turned and walked toward the door. And as I stepped outside, I realized something I hadn't fully understood before. I didn't need the check to prove anything. I never did. All it did was force them to finally see what had been there all along.